Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
How do we really create the vibrancy that we want across our arts landscape in St. Louis?
There's 10,000 birds in the world and limited time on Earth. Why not go try to see them all?
It's an opportunity for us to showcase the music of St. Louis.
Today on Spotlight, a history lesson on the first African-American municipal judge for City Court Number 2 in 1965. Plus, a pediatric neurosurgeon and his book about his young patients' stories of grace and resilience. And then the fall-winter exhibits that complement the Pulitzer's architecture and neighborhood. But first, a look at how the arts and arts organizations are adapting as funding and the arts themselves continue to shift. It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
The Arts and Education Council is a nonprofit that's operated in St. Louis for over 60 years, helping create a vibrant, sort of growing arts ecosystem. It was started by corporate leaders 60 years ago, really to help be a conduit to fund not only the existing arts organizations, but help create new arts organizations across the region. For the last 10 years, there's been a pretty consistent shift in the corporate landscape of funding the arts into other different program types, or in many cases, just cutting funding completely from nonprofit contributions. So A&E has been examining how we can better serve the community going forward in the face of those changes and where we can really thrive and help our arts ecosystem continue to be inclusive and vibrant and really a great asset to the St. Louis region.
We realized a few months ago that the way we were operating was not sustainable. So we had to put a halt on things and just kind of turn inward and see how we could perfect what we were doing to make it better, to go another 60 years. Some of those changes are more emphasis on education, because that's a part of our title. And with the changes in the education system and not as much support being given to arts and music, we wanted to fill in that gap.
It's more of an evolution than a revolution. 60 years ago, there were a handful of small arts organizations, and I don't think the world was inclusive of people as it is today. We've made a conscious shift over the last couple of years, probably the last 5, really focusing on developing the next generation of arts organizations. So whereas 60 years ago we helped create incredible institutions like the Opera Theater of St. Louis, now we're looking at what is the next generation of arts organizations. Can we do that? Can we touch more into education? Can we create more opportunity for students and young people? How do we really create the vibrancy that we want across our arts landscape in St. Louis?
A lot of our donations came from corporate entities. And so since their philanthropy giving has shifted, ours has to shift as well, or where we get our funding has to shift, more importantly. So we are looking for more sustainable members of the community. So it doesn't have to be from a corporate entity. If you are willing to give us, $20, $30 a month, you're a sustaining member, and we would love to have you.
We need to help people better understand the role the arts plays in the quality of the experience that we have in a region, how fortunate we are to have such incredible arts institutions in a region, and the opportunity, I think, to really establish St. Louis as a national leader in the place to go where new young artists can sort of take shape. We're never going to out-Broadway Broadway, right? But I think Opera Theater, for example, has demonstrated some incredible abilities with what they've done, nurturing young artists, funding new types of operas, funding new types of programs. I think we could look at a model like that and think of the entire region as this landscape that ties into our entrepreneurs and that ties into a lot of the other technology ecosystems that are evolving here. And I think that creates a multiplier effect for all those economies.
HEC Media, bringing you culture and community. Find all of HEC's positive programming and award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
History Spotlight, brought to you by HEC Media and the Missouri Historical Society.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jody Sowell, President of the Missouri Historical Society in St. Louis. Judge Nathan B. Young was named the first African-American municipal judge in St. Louis in 1965. Public historian Cecily Hunter tells us more about his long and fascinating career.
Judge Nathan B. Young Jr. lived to be 98 years old. His life spanned the 20th century with the Harlem Renaissance era, the Great Depression, the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power movement, and also the desegregation busing era. So he saw all of it. Judge Young was born to Nathan B. Young Sr. and Emma Young in 1894 in Alabama. He would go on to become a young attorney, and it was said that he was working with the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and he was targeted by the Ku Klux Klan at that time. His father actually wrote him and said, I think that you should actually come to St. Louis. So him and his wife journeys to St. Louis, where he starts his practice here. In an oral history, he defined his experiences upon his arrival in 1924, and he actually said that St. Louis was considered to be an oasis in comparison to life in Alabama at that time. He would go on to join the St. Louis Negro Bar Association, and he would even become a co-founder of the St. Louis American, which initially kicked off its editorial in 1928, selling and circulating stories about Black experiences. Judge Nathan B. Young was also an avid reader and researcher of local St. Louis Black history, and he even went on to write a piece called Your St. Louis and Mine as well in 1937. So he ultimately found that St. Louis was essential, and Black activists here contributed to the civil rights struggle with court cases that went all the way to the Supreme Court, like Dred and Harriet Scott's freedom suit, Shelley v. Kramer, as well as Gain v. Canada. Those were a few of the court cases that he cited as influential and substantial to Black excellence here in the city of St. Louis. Judge Young went on to become the first Black City Court No. 2 judge in 1965. He would serve in that role until about 1976 when he would retire. He was a Renaissance man, and his significance is truly impeccable to the work here of Black St. Louisans.
Next week on History Spotlight, the story of a dress from one of St. Louis's best-dressed women in the mid-20th century.
To learn more about the Missouri Historical Society, visit mohistory.org.
HEC Media. Recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. Mid-America Emmys, Tellys, Natoas, Auroras, and other awards. HEC Media has been bringing home the hardware for over a decade. Hundreds of nominations and wins, from regional to international levels. Arts and education to author talks, magazine shows and documentaries. Individual craft achievements to overall excellence. Plus so much more. And although doing good work is its own reward, recognition, well, it's nice too. See what all the fuss is about. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
Everybody has a story, and the surgeon who is telling his is also sharing those of his tiny patients whose lives he has held literally in the palm of his hands.
It's an interesting life being a pediatric neurosurgeon.
Dr. Jay Wellens holds many titles, including Chief of Pediatric Neurosurgery at Nashville, Tennessee's Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt and the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Dr. Wellens now teaches other pediatric neurosurgeons what he has seen over the past 25 years. Brain tumors, injuries, and malformation in children, with some even yet to be born.
It's probably like the size of a thumbnail. And then the spinal cord is like maybe a clipped piece of the thumbnail sitting on top, and you're dissecting that away from the skin. And so we have these amazing instruments that we use that allow us to use micro instruments inside the field, and it's just in its best times, it's just like a symphony. It's just such a neat thing to be a part of.
As complicated as his surgeries may be, speaking with distraught, worried parents is another challenge.
You have parents that are so grateful for you, and you have parents that never want to see you again.
The son of a military pilot, Dr. Wellens credits his own parents for instilling in him discipline and compassion.
I kind of feel like when my dad taught me about, how to work the problem in crisis management, I think my mom really taught me how to communicate.
And it's his ability to relate to parents as a parent himself, along with his love of writing, that makes his memoir more of a story than a medical journal, Even his good friend, country music star Brad Paisley, has chimed in with an endorsement.
What I want people to take from this is that you wouldn't believe how relatable your stories are to the layman, to the person who doesn't know a thing about neurosurgery.
Readers can even follow along on an Instagram campaign with some of Dr. Welland's patients who are now grown up. Paisley's movie star wife is also taking part as current or former patients tell their story with hopes of motivating and inspiring. It's their way of saying thanks to the man who gave them a future.
Was it cathartic to put all these experiences in writing?
Oh, absolutely. Just the opportunity to reflect over a 20-year career was cathartic in and of itself. But the opportunity to really think back and write about some of these patients that have had such a profound impact on me, yeah, definitely cathartic.
I want our readers and viewers to understand it's not filled with technical jargon. It really reads as a story right from the very first paragraph. So when I opened it and found that, I was like, I'm so pleased to see that. They are following and posting on Instagram pictures from your patients and their reactions to the book or their stories.
Yeah.
So all of us can follow along. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's really neat. It was really brilliant. Ayelet Durant was the person at Penguin Random House. It was her idea, and the moment that she talked about it, it just was brilliant. And one of the cool things, Victoria, is, when I wrote this book, there is a whole set of laws that keeps us from talking about patients, appropriately so. Like, I don't want people talking about my medical history unless I'm okay with it, and so, I talked to the vast majority of families in this book, or patient when they're old enough. And the ones that I couldn't reach or I couldn't get in touch with, I changed enough information to keep it from being identifying the gender or sometimes the age. But the reality of it is that's pretty few and far between. And every single parent or patient that I talked to said absolutely yes. Please tell our story.
To find out about his first fetal surgery and what he says is very important in hospitals, watch the full interview at hecmedia.org.
They are the best-selling authors and all of your favorite genres. For in-depth, one-on-one interviews, go to hecmedia.org.
Sarah Crowner is an artist who's based in New York City. Her work blends several different techniques. She works in painting, installation, tile, and has even worked in the realm of performances with dancers and choreographers. She's interested in the histories of architecture and modern art, as well as craft and design, which she blends into her practice. So for the Pulitzer, she's created 3 different site-specific installations. The exhibition starts with a terracotta mural that she's produced for our exterior courtyard. It sits on the facade of the building, which was designed by the architect Tadao Ando. The Pulitzer's building is comprised of Ando's signature material, which is concrete. So Sarah's terracotta mural creates a really stark contrast. In the main gallery of our exhibition space, she's created a painting titled Around Orange. And the painting takes one of its dimensions from a work that is really at the core of the Pulitzer's permanent collection. It's a wall sculpture titled Blue Black by the artist Ellsworth Kelly. And Sarah has taken the width of that painting, turned it on its side, and used that as the height for her painting. So her painting is 6 feet high, and it spans almost the entirety of the main gallery east wall. So it calls attention to both Ellsworth Kelly's work as well as the dimensions of the building itself. So the second show that we have on view right now is called Urban Archaeology, Lost Buildings of St. Louis, and it's co-organized between the Pulitzer Arts Foundation and the National Building Arts Center, which is located in Sauget, Illinois. The National Building Arts Center is the largest collection of architectural fragments in the United States, and we are very excited to be able to bring together materials to tell stories about the architectural history of St. Louis inside the Pulitzer, which is also an architectural landmark of the area. Really, we wanted to select objects that both tell poignant stories about the architectural history of St. Louis, but also point to the complications of preservation and salvage in the city. So one of the ways that we've done that, for instance, is by creating a gallery related to the downtown neighborhood, which brings together buildings from a 6 square block radius, which were mostly constructed in a 10-year period during the turn of the century, and then were demolished, many of them within 2 years of each other in 1983 and 84 for a redevelopment plan downtown, the Gateway Mall project. By looking at objects that together collectively tell a story about the ebbs and flows of a neighborhood that was so emblematic of the city's projections of itself to the rest of the world, we're able to not only understand architectural landmarks that people no longer have access to seeing in person, but also ask questions as to why were these buildings in such a dense concentration demolished at the same time? What does that tell us about the city's imagination of itself and its potential futures and the way it sees its past? It's a nice opportunity to have synergy between two exhibitions that reflect on this place and make people feel and think differently about the architecture that's surrounding them and that we live with every day.
Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Birds have been getting smaller as the climate has warmed, and their appendages have been getting a little bit longer. Birds are going to be changing their sizes. They're going to be changing their shapes. And what our study did was it essentially confirmed that these processes are occurring across 7,000 of the world's 10,000 bird species at a longer time scale and at the level of bird families. I'm Justin Baldwin. I'm a fifth-year PhD student at Washington University in the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology program. I kind of think of myself as an ornithologist by day, but I like to use my free time to go also experience birds. It's kind of like Pokemon, right? There's 10,000 birds in the world and limited time on Earth. Why not go try to see them all? Contribute all these images to platforms that allow researchers to discover new things about how they live, why they're so weird, why we have different communities of them in different places, and how they've adapted to the natural world, to their habitats that they're found in. We just published a paper. I'm first author, I'm corresponding author. It's a very collaborative effort. It's a study where we examined how birds have evolved to deal with extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, over really long time scales. So starting from the dinosaurs up until today. And so what we discovered, there are two complementary pathways that birds can choose from as they meet the challenges of extreme temperatures. The one pathway is changing their body size. The other pathway is changing the length of their bill. Our study is unique in the sense that when you consider how birds have been adapting via these two pathways at the same time, most families of birds appear to do a little bit of both kinds of changes. Why is the body size and bill size important, right? Well, they are key determinants of the surface area to volume ratio. So the ratio of your body size to the surface area of your entire body, that determines how well you can exchange heat with your environment. These two long, well-known modes of adaptation, the change in body size or the change in bill size, they've been known for about 175 years, and biologists have been bickering with each other for the last 175 years about which is right, or do they do one or do the other. But if you actually just look at both at the same time, they do both. They're not changing only their body size, they're not changing only their bill size, they're doing a little bit of both at the same time. Allow them to change their bodies in a way that likely is important to dealing with these challenging environments. An important finding that can help reconcile some of the opposing viewpoints. Birds with really specialized bills, hummingbirds, eagles, falcons, chickens, pheasants, right? Those kind of groups. If there's a strong constraint on the bill, essentially, if their bill is such a main determinant of their lifestyle, their foraging ecology, the way they sing, if there's a strong constraint, changing your body size in response to temperature might be the only way when faced with these extreme challenges. For birds, the feeding morphology, the shape of their bill, very particular weird bill shapes, can let us predict if they're going to be changing their body sizes or their bill sizes. Those are the ones that always change their body size. So we think that this is indicative of a constraint that foraging might place on the way that evolution then explores these adaptive landscapes.
A song from PorchFest later on Spotlight.
We're here at Green Door Art Gallery looking at our newest exhibit, On the Horizon. which is an exploration of that which lies before us. In the exhibit, you're going to see lots of landscapes with the horizons in it, but also some of what's next for the artists who are represented. So in the gallery, we have 5 artists who are represented in this exhibit, and their works are in separate areas throughout the gallery. Our first artist in the exhibit is Maureen Brodsky. She is a plein air painter from here in St. Louis, and the paintings in the exhibit are ones that she has done from her property here in Missouri. The second artist in our exhibit is Michelle Graff. She paints with gouache, which is essentially opaque watercolor. A lot of her works include horizons and landscapes, but this body of work represents a new direction for her, which is exploring painting trees. The next artist in our exhibit is Timothy K. Hamilton. He's an oil painter and a photographer, so both of those media are represented in the works that he is exhibiting. And then we have Rosemary Workmeister of Annie Dell Designs. She's a jeweler who works mainly in sterling silver and argentium silver combined with stones. And one of the directions she's taken in her jewelry recently is with lilies. And you'll notice a few pieces in the exhibit that have a horizontal nature to them that evoke the landscape, even though it is a lily that is being represented. Jewelry isn't always a media you would think of in terms of evoking the landscape, but her work fits the theme so well. And the fifth and final artist in the exhibit is K.M. Pick Zivkovich. She is a printmaker working with monoprints, and her very vibrant use of color will really pull you into the works. So all of these different artists that are represented in the exhibit today are exploring similar themes in their work with their landscapes and horizons, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring these artists together and share them with the community in this exhibit on the horizon. You can see this exhibit at Green Door Art Gallery through October 26th, and for more information you can visit our website, greendoorartgallery.com.
For original programming and award-winning content, explore hecmedia.org. Find all of your favorite genres, including the arts and sciences. Go in-depth with the latest research. Get insight into new technologies. Learn about breakthrough discoveries. Find it all in one place. Explore hecmedia.org.
PorchFest is a day of music, community, and fellowship in the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood. And it's an opportunity for us to showcase our neighborhood, showcase the music of St. Louis, which we have such a rich music tradition here, and to do it in a way that includes everybody. Some students had heard about this PorchFest concept that started in Ithaca, New York, where Cornell University is, and Ithaca is one of those towns with, in addition to having a great university, it's got great houses. So the students saw this as a way to build a bridge between the students and the community. WashU students a number of years ago, we're in our 5th year now, they liked this idea, they liked this concept, so they came to the community council and said, how can we do this? The Skinker de Bolivar Community Council is a fixture here in the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood, so we don't just do PorchFest, right? There are a number of other programs throughout the year, and one of the things that we consistently do in the summer is we do a concert series just on our main stage area. So there was already an awareness among students that this was a council that, liked to bring music to the neighborhoods. So we started slow those first couple of years, and now here we are today with 26 porches, 40 bands, music going from 1 to 7 p.m. So it's a full day of music, and there's a lot of community energy around it.
Skinker de Bolivar area is an area that encompasses on the north, Delmar. On our south would be Forest Park. On our east would be de Bolivar, of course, and on our west would be Skinker.
So Skinker de Bolivar is really in the shadow of Forest Park, Washington University. We have the Delmar Loop to the north of us. So we're kind of nestled in this really great and vibrant part of the city of St. Louis. It's our neighbors on porches and bands, and we're building friendships and community through music.
We want to show off our neighborhood and everything that it has to offer.
So it's very self-directed, because if you look at each time slot, we have multiple acts on multiple porches throughout the neighborhood. So anyone who comes here is going to have to make some choices, and we try to make that easy for them. There's different areas of the map so you can get a sense. Maybe you want to chart your own path. But we also give you a little sense of the genre too. And our genres are very wide, right? So we've got hard rock, we've got R&B, we've got rap, we've got a chiptune band, which is something new for me this year. We've got dance bands, we've got singer-songwriters, we've got dance troops, we've got just DJs. So it's a whole wide range of music. You can pick a very different day from anybody else going through PorchFest.
Follow the map or listen for the music. What I've seen that I'm really excited about is the diversity of acts this time. As we're growing, our music catalog is growing, and more band acts are now performing on stage. We have a second line with the same boogie band that's going to march in today. We have 3 main acts. We used to have 1 major act on the main stage, but now we have 3, so it's growing.
So I played for the first time last year, and then it was such an awesome event, so I wanted to come back again this year. It really has become a really put together sort of organization and festival, so I think it's really cool, and I'd just like to be a part of it.
I mean, honestly, I think it's just a cool concept. It's almost like you've deconstructed the concert, right? So instead of the concert being in a formal venue, now it's on someone's porch, right? I understand they have PorchFest Kansas City, I understand there's PorchFest Minneapolis, so we're not really a connected network, but we've all kind of adopted the moniker, and we all seem to follow kind of a similar plan. It seems like what you need is a vibrant, active neighborhood. It helps to have a university and that partnership. It helps to have great sponsors and partners who really invest their time and talent and money into the neighborhood, and you just got to have an enthusiastic core of volunteers. If you've got that, you can probably do PorchFest in your town.
I feel strange here, like I'm in some kind of stasis, and I haven't moved in a while. It's no secret, but everything you do and say just makes me smile. I don't know why. I don't know why everything you do is gold. Everything you say is gold. Everything you do is gold. Everything you say is gold. Everything you do is gold. Everything you say.
Next week, a look at an important dress in St. Louis fashion history. Plus, Webster Art's new exhibit about complex relationships between opposites. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.